psychology training. Okay, so in this video we'll study behavioral intervention for children and adolescents. Okay, so we have studied children and adolescents when we were studying developmental psychology. Now we have studied behavioral intervention. There were a lot of time when we were like talking about mental health disorders, and we were talking about counseling and things. So there are behavior intervention were there. Behavior we know from the starting of the session, because the psychology, the definition of psychology also runs behind behavior. There are two kind of behavior we already know, which is overt and covert behavior. Okay, so now we are dealing with behavioral interventions. Okay, so here are behavioral problems that can affect learning, relationship, and development of a child, or any kind of like adolescence or a child. Okay, so how behavioral problems arise, and what are behavioral problems are, and how it can affect learning and relationship of and development of a person. Okay, so behavior is anything a person do. Okay, now specifically we are talking about the conduct that child have with their siblings, or with society, or yeah. Okay, so it affect a lot, because it can be a place which from where trauma arise. Okay, so that is why it is very important. At the same time, behavior is anything a person do. So anything, like if he is seeking for some sensory pleasures, if he is involved in any kind of drug abuse or any substance abuse, or this kind of stuffs are there, so it can also affect that person. Okay, so early intervention, if we understand what kind of behavior interventions are there, what kind of behavior problems a child is having, so early intervention can be very better, because now the person haven't created a neural pathway in his brain which is like guiding him to behave in a certain manner. After a time, if the interventions are not there, and if it is unexplored yet and unidentified, then it can develop into a disorder. It can develop into a thing where a person it is unmanageable or undonable. Okay, so what is our aim? First, we have to explore the behavior, and then we have to identify the evidence-based intervention which we can provide to that person to treat that behavior. Okay, here we can brings positive change by bringing a positive behavior, and we can also bring positive change by eliminating the negative behavior. Okay, so understanding a behavior communicates needs or emotion. Whatever you are doing is because you are motivated when there is a need arise, when there are emotionally attachment is there, or any kind of thought is there, and thought bring emotion, and emotion it bring a behavior also. Okay, so that is why behavior is communicating what? At any core, if you are seeing behavior, so behavior is communicating the need and emotion of that person. It is kind of response or reaction toward anything. Okay, so but still it is not just a reaction, it is a anything a person is doing. Okay, now ABC of behavior. A is for antecedent. What triggers the behavior? What are the thought, or what are the there can be automatic thoughts, there could be emotions, that could be personality type, there could be biological reason which triggers the behavior. Okay, at the same time, behavior is what? Behavior is what we are observing, the overt behavior we are talking about. Okay, now what are the consequences? What is followed by that behavior? Because of that behavior, what is happening to that person? We have asked, there could be developmental problems, or academic problems, or any kind of relationship, social, any kind of problem which happen with the person. So yeah, now if the behavior is there, what is the consequences? Okay, similar kind of techniques we also use while doing CBT and REBT. Okay, we find the ABC of behavior. Okay, so it is very important. Now, how to identify the attention span of that person? What is he attentive to? What is his attention towards? Okay, so first is attention. Second is what the child is escaping from. Is he escaping from some kind of stuff which is very important, or what are on his access? Okay, what is he having access of money, sensitive pleasures, or any kind of stuff? At the same time, what is his sensory how his senses are? Okay, how is very sensitive towards something, or not sensitive at all? So yeah, this is what we have to study to understand the person's behavior, a child's behavior especially. Now, if we have to provide evidence-based intervention, it will include something which will change the behavior neurologically and psychologically, or also at the same time physiologically also. Okay, applied behavior analysis is required, where we analyze the behavior, and according to that behavior we understand which are required behavior, which are not required. Okay, which behavior are good, which behavior are bad. Okay, so wanted unwanted behavior could be analyzed, and according to which we can provide positive reinforcement, and we can use reinforcement in general, not positive all the time. There could be negative reinforcement which is also required to what, to like accept a behavior, to bring a behavior, and to eliminate a behavior. Okay, so that is what we do. CBT, along you know what is CBT, and we understand how CBT works. Okay, at the same time, positive behavioral intervention and support. Okay, so what is positive behavioral intervention is we bring intervention which supports your positive positive behaviors only. Okay, like in schools, or like basically in schools now, not in college and everywhere, but in schools there is a particular kind of like they have a code of conduct which every student have to follow. So it also brings a good behavior in a person. Okay, now social skills training. If the person is scoring very low in like VSMS or some kind of, he is not having social maturity, social skills training will help, because of social skill or like social immaturity, the person also falls into behavior category which is very bad conduct behavior. Okay, so that is why we are required is social training is very social skill training is very required, where we educate the child about how to talk to the elders, talk to the younger one, and talk to your peers. Okay, similarly how to like be respectful to each and every strata of the society. That is what we do in social skills training. At the same time, parenting program should be there, parent training program should be there, where our triple P like positive parenting programs are there, where we make them psychoeducate about the child and neurology of child, and how the child is growing, the developmental psychology of child, and what parenting should be like in every stage of life. Okay, at the same time, PCIT like parent child intervention technique. Okay, so where we provide the interaction between parent and child. Okay, so parent child interaction therapy, so where we build safe place for the child also, and a educated parent, and a parenting style which don't hamper the person's personality, at the same time bring development. Okay, now implementation of intervention. You guys already know how to implement them. Okay, you guys have studied in 2 or 3 videos how to implement. Assess the behavior first, second in smart goals should be set, and third is plan and monitor. Okay, check it how is going and how is it. Okay, now if anyone who is involved with the child should be involved in the program. Okay, because that's how the child is going to trust us. Okay, because in therapy sessions or in any kind of counseling setup, we need a trust from our client. So that's why we are like involved parents, teachers who are actually required. Okay, now at the same time, for if it is about a child, so child is growing regularly. Okay, on a daily basis is developing something, he is growing somewhere. So we have to assess it regularly, on a regular basis. Like you can like not on a like daily basis, but yeah, in a regular basis of like 5 or 10 days. Okay, you can set, but not more than 1 month or like 15 days. Okay, it will be very long period. Now there are specific challenges which could be there in a child, which we have to address and which we have to understand, and according to which we have to plan intervention for the child. Okay, ADHD is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, where the person, we have already discussed what ADHD is. So attention span is very less, he can't be attentive to anything. So we have to provide structured routine to that person, and at the same time, to behave in a certain manner, we can provide him token economy system we can establish, where we provide similar kind of token, 10 or 15 token can bring him a prize or something. So we can provide tokens to that person. A token economy could be used to bring a positive reinforcement of positive behaviors. Okay, now ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, where the person where the child do not obey the authority. He is very disobedient toward authority and is against any every authority. Okay, because he identifies himself as a great leader, or he identifies himself bigger than the authority, and he is the opposing. Like if every student is following some rules of a teacher, the person with ODD is like, I don't care about this teacher. This teacher is very rude, or he did it. If anything bad happens, so it is because of the authority. Okay, not because of the peer, not because of anyone, but because of the authority. So we have to, like we have discussed in like conflict resolution in workplace ethics. Now there should be, like, we have to bring positive respectful dialogues in situations. Calm communication should be there. Apply consistent limits. There should be a limit to what child is talking about. Okay, now there's autism is another autism spectrum disorder, where there's a spectrum of disorder, spectrum of syndromes, which symptoms which could be happen to a person. Okay, so in autism, the person is self amused and things like that. So we have to teach social rules to that person, to that child, and at the same reduce the sensory overload. Okay, they are very sensitive to music and stuff like this, so we have to manage autism with a special education and stuff. Aggression and anxiety could be there. Okay, so we have to teach emotional regulation. Okay, so first thing, if you have to teach someone's emotional regulation, a little like a little nuance to which is, if like you just say it, like you can't give, like there's a theory na, that you can't give your remote to everyone. Okay, they have remote of your emotion. They can bring any channel and bring any emotions to you. Okay, so if there's a person, if there's a child who's, because every child have a little narcissistic quality in it, and is all egocentric at the same time. So what we can say it, by behaving in a certain manner, by being angry or anxious about anxiety, we have discussed what anxiety is. So not anxiety, but if aggression is there, so if you are being angry toward anything because of someone, so you are actually following their instruction only, and you are like surrendered to them. Okay, this act very well sometimes. Can people understand that? Yeah, I don't have to surrender in front of anyone. If you are like bringing, so they just become a little more calm, and they are just become a more like calm person, which like not react quickly. Okay, so this is what we can do. Bring coping skills, like educate the child about the coping skills which is required. Then role of positive reinforcement. We have studied in behaviorism, there is positive reinforcement. The behaviorism, so all the theories of behaviorism applies in behavioral interventions plans. Okay, so to desired behavior, to in reinforce desired behavior, not to just reduce unwanted ones. Okay, we have to like, if the child is not if the child is very numb after eliminating all the bad responses or bad conduct of that child, the child is numb, that is of no use. Okay, that child is now, we have like killed the innocence of that child. So that is why we have to bring some, reinforce some good behaviors in us. Okay, so that child grow basically in life. Okay, that's no we are not correcting any child, or we are not in a favor of like a child should be behave in certain manner or stuff like this, but we are just saying that we provide certain rules, we just provide some certain rules and some kind of positive behavior we build in child, so it can help the child in future. Okay, with dealing with the society, but at the end the child have to deal with the society. Okay, that is why we are reinforcing desired behavior. Okay, so we can use praise tokens, privilege and tangible rewards which are there, which is known as positive reinforcement. At the same time, it is token economy. Okay, reinforcement should be immediate and consistent. There are a lot of type of reinforcement could be there, but in child case it should be immediate and consistent. Okay, because if we break the consistency, the child is learning new thing every day. Okay, so he is consistent toward learning, so we have to bring reinforcement very consistent, and at the same time the grasp of child is very good. Okay, so he's learning very quickly, so at the same time we have to provide reinforcement very immediate basis. Okay, so reinforcement is required. Similarly, if the child is learning consistently, so the reinforcement will be consistent, and very fast, so it will be immediate. If that's very slow, and if not for child we are not talking about, if in other case, if there's a slow like developing some character is, so yeah, there could be like immediate like response, reinforcements is not required. Okay, so this is help to boost their self-esteem and motivation. Okay, so these are all things which are required for a behavioral analysis of a person, of a child, and like to correct a behavior of a child. Okay, so these are behavioral intervention where psychology supplies its great role. Okay, without psychology we can't do whatever we have studied till now. Okay, without psychology, just bring out all these physiological psychological support we are providing to a person. How will you like help a person with anxiety without you knowing all these things? Okay, so it is very required. Behavior changes take times, patience and strategy. Okay, at the same time, if it is immediate, we are providing immediate reinforcement and consistent reinforcement. This doesn't mean that the growth will be very consistent and it will be very immediate. Okay, like the child take a lot of time to develop a new behavior. Okay, similarly you learn so much in like so much time you could have take. Okay, so if you see your 8th class book, or if you see your 7th class book, or if you see your 2nd or 3rd class book, you're like, oh my god, I'm like studying it for 1 year. Okay, a person is just studying ABC and word system for 1 year. Okay, but now we are just we are developed. So yeah, child take time learning, unlearning anything. At the same time, he used to learn, he used to develop a concept, he used to unlearn that thing. So it is a huge process for a child. So it take time. We have to very patience with it. Every individual support is most effective. At the same time, positive environment plus collaborative effort. Okay, if the parents are not involved in your therapy session, if the parents are not involved in your behavior interventions, then it can fail. Okay, so you have to be collaboration should be there. We have to bring collaboration, positive environment, create at your clinic, your place, or at home. And if there's positive like positive environment is there, at the same time there are collaboration is there where parents and family peers are like helping us, then there will be a long term success toward behavior interventions. Okay, so that's all from my side. We'll meet in next video.